Patty
Patty
Kane.
Kane. Do you think so? The big thing, and I want to pull up three things right now, but I just want to pull it up quickly off my mind. I remember seeing this. Patrick Kane, and he said it twice in his response, not just once. He made it clear twice that yes, he was upset that the NHL players weren't going to the Olympics, but do you remember what he was more upset about?
What's that? Refresh my memory.
He was extremely upset that he didn't get the chance to play with Austin Matthews. He didn't get the chance to play on Austin Matthews' wing. He brought it up twice, like in response. He said that, and then added to his response and saying that they stay in touch throughout the year. He admires Austin Matthews' shot. They stay in touch, feedback both sides on their skill set, and he recognizes that he's the next big time. I mean, he's the current big time American. So do you think Bissonnette, Paul Bissonnette's going crazy online?
Yeah, he's going nuts.
Out of your mind.
Yeah.
If you don't think Dubas is doing it.
You see Johnny, you see his tweet today? What number's Patty Kane going to wear on the Leafs this year?
Yeah. I mean, here's my part here. The guy is from Buffalo. Yep. It's not too far of a trip from Toronto to Buffalo. I'm not buying into this too much. I'll just say that there is enough to point towards that it's not completely a silly conversation. It's close to Buffalo. He'd play with Austin Matthews. And at the very least, I mean, if the Leafs were trying to trade for him, I can't see Patrick Kane saying no to that idea over what he has right now.
Yeah.
So do you see a Patrick Kane trade one? Because I've already talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
And do you see one of the Canadian teams, including the Leafs, as a potential?
I see a Patrick Kane trade happening. Yes. I think that he values being a Chicago Blackhawk. And I think he would like, I think an option for him is he would like to finish his career there. Having said that, the direction they're going, they're really trying to push, in my opinion, Kane and Taves out the door and get this rebuild. Yeah. I mean, they've even talked about Seth Jones moving, and they've just signed him. So I think that the Blackhawks, from their perspective, they'd want to trade him. And if the Leafs were on the table, it's really going to come down to, is Kyle Dubas and the Leafs serious about it? Because I think the Leafs and the Blackhawks, they have a good relationship when it comes to trades. And I think if Patrick Kane has the opportunity to play with Austin Matthews, he'd for sure jump at that. I just cannot see him turning that down. So I think he will get traded. And I think the Leafs, if they want to be in the conversation, they could certainly be in it. But if he gets traded, it will be to a contending team. Yeah, that's my guess.
And I'm just saying this because I've said this about recent additions to the Leafs, and even Giordano. I know he is actually from Toronto, but the fact that he stayed even after another first round exit, I think if Patrick Kane, if the Leafs did trade for him and took that chance and traded prospects, whether it's Matthew Nyes, Robertson, have your opinions out there if you would do that. But what I'm saying is that if they did it, and with Patrick Kane, the Leafs show that they could go a couple rounds, that gives an incentive to a guy like Patrick Kane that, we can freaking do it with this team. Mm-hmm. So that's the big risk. Dubas, I get it. People are like, oh, this guy did the big move with the Kadri trade and the Barry and Kerfoot. Oh, Dubas took the big risk with getting Nick Foligno. Like, are we hearing those? Are we hearing the players that just left my mouth? Sure. Those were stupid moves that were coming from big risks, but that wasn't a big risk, gigantic award. This Kane trade would be the big risk, gigantic award potentially. So
this is the best American player of all time. Up to date. So
what I'm saying is I'm not completely sold on it as a realistic thing, and I'm not buying into the rumors yet, but in terms of something that the Leafs should go after, I mean, I don't care if everyone that still thinks the Leafs, I mean, anyone that watched the Leafs, especially except for one or two games in that Tampa series, like the Leafs defense was not the problem. Like the Leafs defense hasn't been the problem until go back to the Lamoriello days and watch Zaitsev, Connor Carrick, and Jake Gardner. No disrespect to those guys, but those guys take up minutes versus now seeing guys like Brody, Muzzin, Riley, Giordano take up big minutes. It's night and day. Mm-hmm. So enough with this old story of the Leafs defense being bad. They're above average, and it's not necessarily the problem anymore. You need playoff performers. Patrick Kane's a playoff performer. So let's move on from that. But I would say if there's an opportunity to do it, you do it. I don't know if it's possible.
Do you have an opinion on that though? Do you think they should retire there, or with all the Patty Kane trade rumors right now?
Yeah. And I haven't talked to Kane and Taves. And again, when I was a little in the media, I watched how I talked to them as well, just because they're players and I don't want them to think I'm crying at them. Right. Mm-hmm. So, when I was a part of the media, so when I would talk to them, it was honestly never about hockey. It was just, hey, how's the family? How you doing? Congrats on your kid. And still to this day, you know, I get all my friends messaging me about Kane coming to Toronto, especially from out here where, you know, I live here now and people are going nuts. And I said, any American player wanting to come to Canada in today's climate is crazy. I would never come play in Canada right now, just to be brutally honest, right?
No, fair enough.
Not even just from like a financial perspective. No. You mean beyond that, obviously.
Well, again, it depends like how much money is going to change my life.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is the money coming to play in Canada? Having issues at borders, family coming, there's just zero chance American players. I mean, maybe he does. I've never talked to him about this, but if this is me talking, I would ever come play in Canada in this climate. There's just no chance. It's just, you can't get your family across at times. You can't do this. It's like, well, what the hell is going on? So if you're an American player and you want to see your family throughout the year and you want to do things and you want to live your life, well, then you got to go back to the States. So if I was an American player, there's zero chance I'd come play in Canada unless it was life-changing money, right? Mm-hmm. Life-changing money. If it was like, you know, if I'm going to get 5 million here and 4 million here, or 500,000 here, or 500,000 there, I am not coming to Canada. There's no chance. So that's just my true opinion of what I believe. Now, what they do, I have no idea. I do think that both of them, this is my own perspective on it, I do think both of them should leave Chicago prior to the season. I just think when you go to a team mid-season, you're never comfortable. You're never fully comfortable. Again, it always depends. I don't know what their roadmap is for their careers or what they want to do, but I know for me, I'd want to be at the new team at training camp, getting used to the guys, getting used to the city, getting used to the systems at the start of the camp. So if they ever heard this, which they don't give a shit what I think, which they shouldn't, but I would tell them to get out and go, you know, to where they'd want to go now rather than wait to the trade deadline. Now there's always all things that play into it, you know, kids, family, logistics. Even if they want to do it, I have no idea. Never talked to them about it. So there's a lot of other things at play, but I just know from a comfortability factor, that's what I'd want to do.
Well, and being through it, right? I think, was there not the time, I think it was from the Panthers to the Blackhawks, if my memory is correct, where you got traded mid-season?
And to the Kings, right?
And to the Kings,
so going to a new team.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, especially with those guys, like I'm a player that always did well when I was comfortable because I relied on a lot of small plays adding up to a big play. So like a little chip pass, a little, you know, backhand pass through skates, or just something that you need to be comfortable to make those plays. And when you're on a new team and you have these expectations, you're coming in, you're filling a role, you might not have the same role as your other team, you might not have the same ice time. It's a very hard mental transition. Now, that's why sometimes at the deadline, when you see these guys brought in that don't have to have the expectations and they're just brought in and sometimes they're given more of a role, that's why they succeed, right? Because they almost come into this new team with a mindset like, well, I'm probably not going to play as much, or I'm not expected to be this guy or that. So, you know, Andrew Kopp goes to Rangers. He's expected just to be a depth guy. He ends up playing on the second line, right? It's a bit of a different mindset. But if you're going as more of a top guy or a guy that's expected to make plays and be in the top six, I think it's a little more tough to make that transition mid-season.